Welcome, everyone. My name is Jesus Rodriguez-Espinoza. I'm the editor of Orinoco Tribune. Welcome to Chavista Chronicles from Caracas. Today we have with us David Escobar, and from Orinoco Tribune, we're gonna have the pleasure to have Saheli Chowdhury, that is part of our editorial team. And we are gonna talk with David about the recent elections, the recent, parliamentary elections in Colombia, and the scenarios for the presidential elections are going to be held next May. So before starting, I want to introduce David. David is a journalist, graduated from the Universidad del Valle in Colombia. He's based in Cali, and he has been working as producer and director in several documentaries. The most recent ones are Paren de Matarnos, and the other one is Bajo Fuego, under fire, I believe that I would translate that. So welcome, David, and thank you for accepting the invitation. I know that it's not easy for some people, for some compass in Colombia to speak freely about political issues. And because of that, I want to jump to the first part of the interview, which is exactly about the security issues in Colombia and how complicated or how easy it is to do politics and to participate in politics in Colombia. And I want to ask you that because I know that there are, instances of violence that are on a daily basis for Colombian, and sometimes they are so normalized in Colombian life that people outside Colombia do not hear too much about that, about death threats, about mass killings, about that kind of, security issues that affect mostly the progressive forces in the country. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And Saheli, feel free to jump anytime that you want. I believe that we need to have like a chat. What we want to do today is have a chat with you, David.
Okay,
Welcome.
Thanks for the invitation. Yes, right now, in the recent days, Miguel Correa, an indigenous authority, was murdered. He was the husband of journalist Dora Muñoz. I studied with Dora, and it is a constant in the action of the death squads in Colombia to murder social leaders. Not only social leaders, also journalists. And during the national strike, many journalists were injured. They had threats. They were shot. And about this, many of them don't have any security to make their work. So I agree with you. It's very difficult, not only for leaders, not only for the people, but also for journalists. So the censorship in Colombia is very, very strong, and it's going to increase because the tendency is increasing.
You mean before elections, right? Or just the general tendency, the general trend?
Since the peace agreement, the killing of leaders has been increasing.
Okay.
During 2022, 41 social leaders have been killed, according to Colombia's Institute for Development and Peace Studies in the past.
Okay, that's sad.
Yeah, it's very sad. It's only the start of this year. So, just a minute. During 2021, 168 leaders were killed. And if it's only a number, you'll see the massacres committed in 2022 have been 23 with 61 victims. The violence in the environment is too much.
Yes, it means that maybe if it keeps this pace, maybe by the end of the year, you're gonna have like 250 deaths, right? Like doubling last year. I got it. I got it.
Perhaps that's the tendency.
Okay, and like I saw in the news that only yesterday, that in the latest massacre, 3 Venezuelans were killed, which is very bad. But it happens all the time, right? Like it in this year, in 2 massacres, Venezuelans have been killed, and yesterday, the among the killed people, 2 were children. So anyway, when you say that censorship in Colombia is going to increase, so how does this, I mean, how does the government implement this censorship? Because outside, in most places, like even Economist, which is exceptionally bad, but anyway, the Economist gave Colombia one of the highest indices of democracy in South America, which is, of course, a lie. Venezuela is authoritarian. But anyway, so like in a democracy, how does this censorship function in Colombia?
Well, let me tell you something. I was during the visit of the CIDH,
The
Inter-American
International Court,
Commission of
Inter-American Court for Human
Commission,
Rights. Yes,
Human rights, yeah.
not the court, the commission.
Commission. That's true.
There were like 20 journalists from Cali, and from Valle del Cauca, which is the department where I live. And they were telling their stories about the repression and censorship during the national strike, repression and censorship against them, against those journalists. The stories that they told were they were kidnapped by police, they were shot to death. They were shot, they didn't die, they didn't get the shot, but they were shot.
They were, I mean, they tried to kill them.
They tried to kill them during the cover of this. One of those journalists is Jose Alberto Tejada, who now is a representative at the Chamber for the Historical Pact.
Okay.
And one of those journalists is Jafran. He told me, I interviewed him. He told me he was shot at least 12 times during the national strike. So it is a brute force censorship, but there is also how you say this, like subtle,
subtle
censorship, which is the journalists that are critics against the system, against the political system, are fired from the media.
The work.
Yeah, and it not only happens on the unknown journalist, but also you can see how the Semana magazine fired Daniel Coronel and many other journalists which were critic against the government. So
yes. While you were talking about those things, I wonder why you decided to become a journalist. You know, in a country where journalist is something that reduces your chances to your life expectancy.
yes, according to Garcia Marquez, is the best work in the world. Sometimes bitter.
That's true.
Yeah, he was also a journalist, right?
That's true. That's true. You wanna add something, Sahili?
Not about censorship. I got my answer that there is like both types of censorship, both the brute force in your face censorship and also like backdoor sort of thing by firing even establishment journalists who are not so establishment, or maybe question the government sometimes. So thanks for that answer.
And listen,
And
now,
well, I
go ahead.
can, while I was filming Stop Killing Us during the national strike, I got shot by the SMAT, that is the anti-riot squad.
Mhm.
Police.
My communications were intercepted. I got threats, direct threats from the military force members.
But like what? Like verbal threats or
No,
pamphlets, email
Messages.
messages? Oh my God.
um, I got I was detained by the police while I was working on the cover
Document.
of the massacre at Siloé here in Cali, where 3 demonstrators were killed.
I saw the word that you did about that. It's terrible.
Yes, and during that work, I got a death threat of guys um, with guns on my head, telling me don't to make myself be killed for this work. So my neighbor there was a patrol of civilians armed with long weapons.
Weapons.
Yeah, and I had to leave the city with the help of the FLIP, which is the Freedom of Press Foundation. They took me out of all of this. So in one of those cases of censorship has
Yes,
occurred to me.
it's nice that you tell us that, because sometimes people do not realize how complicated and how threatening
Dangerous, threatening.
being a journalist or being a socialist-minded people in Colombia might be, because all the propaganda, no, that mainstream media, the U.S. and European countries do in favor of Colombian authorities, because Colombian authorities do whatever they ask them to do. That's my opinion on that. But it's nice that you let us know about those things, because a lot of people outside Colombia don't have a clue about this. Of course, we in Venezuela that are very close to Colombia are used to hear that kind of news, but that's between Colombians and Venezuelans. So it's nice that you are letting us know and letting our audience know about these kind of things, because it's part of the daily life of Colombians. Now I want to
Yes,
jump. Go ahead. You want to say something else?
yeah, not only for leaders, also for human rights defenders.
Mm-hmm.
Colombia is the country where more human rights defenders are killed in the world.
Yeah.
I can tell you many stories about people close to me that have suffered for being a human rights defender. And of course, this media, these think tanks from the liberal media, from the liberal politics in the United States, etc. They say Colombia is a democracy and blah, 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 blah. And they focus on human rights on Venezuela or in Cuba, arguing those dictatorships, whatever. But it happened to me. I asked this year, 1 year after those
Events that you mentioned.
why the Commission of Human Rights, the Inter-American Commission of Human Rights, hadn't given me any
Protection measure.
protection measures. And the answer was they were focusing in Cuba and Venezuela. So,
No kidding.
yeah.
Which is where we don't have that kind of stuff, you know. I mean, I'm not saying that Venezuela is perfect, but we don't have that level of, you know, that level of repression that you are telling us.
Well, at least the
I don't.
government does not send anyone to kill journalists or anything. I mean,
Exactly. Yes.
and a
But
lot of
anyway,
paramilitary violence does come from Colombia, so that's also a very big problem.
yes.
So, like, yeah, that's, I mean, even the ICC closed their case that was against the government of Ivan Duque, right?
Yes, yes, which is weird, very weird. And
It is
now
weird because
and now they
they are
want to
coming to
open
Venezuela.
and they want to open one investigation against Putin and Russians now. Did you read that news?
Sure.
Anyway, that is in
At the same time, they are supporting Nazis.
yes, 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 yes. Anyway, I don't want to deviate from our main, issue, which is Colombia, but it's true. I mean, what happened in Ukraine is terrible. No one wants the war, but the truth is that Zelensky and the Ukrainian government are pro-Nazis. But anyway,
in
let's
Ukraine have happened something similar to Colombia. They developed death squads, paramilitary death squads,
Mhm.
but particularly they are Nazi death squads.
Yes.
I've seen the media, the military saying that they had to castrate
Mhm.
the prisoners. Yesterday, I saw that video of
I didn't see that.
a medical authority from the military forces from Zelensky.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And also I've seen journalists there that were saying that they had to kill Russian children, and he was quoting
Yes.
this
Yes.
Nazi
One
Eichmann.
Nazi leader,
Yes.
Heisman.
Eichmann, the person
Eichmann.
who actually like made the blueprint of killing Jews, and also the Roma, which is not talked about as much as the killing of Jews.
But let's jump to the next part of the interview. I want to ask you, David, about the March 13 election. How do you how do you see the results, the balance of power now in the Congress, taking into consideration a possible victory of the left in Colombia? How do you see those results?
Well, yes. The traditional politics are kind of scared. I've seen that in the environment. Álvaro Uribe has called, has said that all these critics against the registraduría, registry,
Mhm.
it's
Like
a
the
trick
electoral
from
authority, right?
the electoral authority.
Mhm.
It's a trick from Petro to steal the presidency without any proof of that. But there are proofs. They're published in many social networks of the votes that have been stealed to the historical pact. There were more than 20,000 tables.
Ballots.
Mhm.
No, not
So
ballots.
there were 20,000 centers. No, I think it's close to 26,000 where the
Okay.
pact received 0 votes, right? I mean, that is what it said.
Yes, 0 votes for the left in 29,000
Voting centers.
voting tables.
Okay.
And those were about 500,000 votes lost for the left, which now are being recovered by juries and
Do you
people
think
that
do you think that's gonna happen? Do you think that eventually you're gonna have those votes, or they are gonna get lost as it usually happen? How do you see? What do you see is gonna happen with that initiative?
No, I think those votes are being recovered,
Okay.
and that the historical pact is going to get about 20 to 21 seats at the Senate.
Okay.
But
They have right now something like 15 or 16, right?
19, I think.
Okay. Okay.
16, but they are going to get about 20 to 21.
Yeah, they think the 20.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Well,
That's in the Senate, right?
That's in the Senate.
And the Senate
In
only
the,
have like 100 seats, right? So that means that you might have like 20% of the Senate, right? Something like that.
yes, there are some more from other
Groups like
groups,
indigenous.
like
Yes,
indigenous.
I know.
It's about 25% of the Congress, of the
Okay,
Senate. At the chamber, there are more.
that
And
will be
here,
nice.
yeah, it's like 25 seats at the chamber.
And what about the House, the
That is what you're
deputies?
saying.
Uh-huh.
That is what you said, that like 25.
Yes,
So
Okay.
how many seats are there in the Chamber of Deputies?
it's like 120, something like that.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, there were 2,600,000 votes at that chamber for the deputies of the historical pact, which is due in a great level to the repression that were during the national strike last year. During that strike, the government used brute force and death squads to kill demonstrators. Were about 80 demonstrators killed, many disappeared, hundred of injured. So people here in Valle del Cauca, which and in Cali, where it was the center of the national strike, we didn't have any representative for the left at the any deputy at the Chamber of Representatives. Now we have 5. So
That's
it
fine.
has improved. It's a hole in the hegemony.
That's good. That's good. So you are telling us that in the case of the House of Deputies, in the Chamber of Deputies, what will be the percentage of progressive forces there currently, without without the
The
procedure
recount,
to
let's say.
Right now it's about 25% too.
Okay, that's in the House of Representatives, in the House of Deputies, right? In the Chamber of Deputies.
Yes.
And in the Senate,
It's about the same.
Okay.
Yeah, and also the historical pact is the first force in both.
Okay, so is the main minority, right? That's how you say it in English, Sahili?
Yeah, you
main
could say
minority.
you could just say that it's the biggest block, but not the majority.
Okay.
So no, that what I would like to ask is that if Petro wins, like he will be the president, but a president cannot do anything on his own, right? So he would have to get his proposals passed through both houses of the parliament. So, like, what sort of situation will that be? Like, how much support can he have in that case? And also, like, what sort of compromises he might have to make given that he becomes the president?
Yes, well, Gustavo Petro has said that he would call for a broad coalition. And in this coalition, there will not fit the corrupts, not the genocidal. Okay, so in that coalition would be perhaps the Green Party, perhaps the Liberals. That's an hypothesis because
And with those two additional group, what will be the percentage of the chamber? Do you have those numbers?
I don't have here the exact numbers, but would be with those groups would be majority.
Okay, okay, okay. Because I was thinking that maybe the Petro and the historic pact. Do you say it like that? Historic pact or the historical pact? How do you say it in English, Sahi? How?
I don't say it.
Pacto histórico.
Historical. Okay. Do you think that they I mean, that they are capable of doing an alliance with the party of the U, the one from Juan Manuel Santos, which also got some votes, or do you see that that is too much?
Me?
Uh-huh. I mean, do you think that
Okay.
a possible alliance with the party of the U, the party from Juan Manuel Santos, is going to be possible?
Well, I don't see Pacto Histórico near to Partido
Okay.
de la U.
Okay. Okay.
And,
Actually,
and this party has lost many seats anyways.
yeah.
Or
Okay.
Like
Okay.
I heard like Colombians joking on the internet, of course, that Partido de la U had like first supported Uribe and then supported Santos, and now who are they going to support? This sort of joke I was hearing. So if some party had supported Uribe, I don't think Petro will get close to them.
Okay.
no, I don't
Okay.
think so.
So do you think that it's possible to have like an alliance with these other two parties? I'm talking about the Liberal Party and the Green Party, right? So with those two parties, maybe Petro might, build a majority in Congress to advance some things, right?
I think that Petro is trying to make this coalition in the same way that Boric did in Chile. His speech have moved to
To the right.
a liberal speech
Uh-huh.
because he needs this support so he can make a government.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. That
Yes,
makes
that
sense.
was what I was talking about when I asked what sort of compromises he might have to make. Of
Exactly.
course,
Okay, so what sort of compromises? What I have seen is a meeting that Petro had with Cesar Gaviria, which is the leader of this party, this liberal party. And after that meeting, what they said it was that the compromise was to defend the Constitution of 1991. However, everybody knows that Cesar Gaviria is someone that moves towards the more powerful in
Colombia,
case
the
in
oligarchy.
Colombia, oligarchy.
Mhm.
So I think that the speech of Petro is trying to get the basis of the Liberal Party because in the first round, primera vuelta,
Mhm.
there are many more probabilities to win the presidency that in an eventual second round.
So do you think that they might concede towards Petro, like this other guy from the right did with the winner of the primaries of the right? Do you think that's a possibility? That's what you are saying, that maybe the liberals might, how do you say that in English, Sahili?
liberals might support Petro in the first round
Uh-huh.
itself and without putting a candidate themselves. Is that a possibility?
Well, Petro got 4,600,000 votes, and it was the second of the party of the historical pact was Francia Marquez,
Yes,
who got
yes.
800,000 votes. With those votes, those votes from Francia Marquez are more than the winner from the center, who was Sergio Fajardo.
Mm.
And Petro has 9 rivals in the run for presidency. So the right wing is
Fracture, like divided, right?
divided. So in a first round, there are huge possibilities to win. In a second round, it's more probable that all these candidates turn to right. and joined in a coalition in order to beat Petro.
Yeah,
I
it
got it.
happened the last time also, right? The
Yeah.
last election in which Duque won.
Yeah,
That's true. That's true.
but
So
the,
those are the negotiations right now. I mean, this possible alliance between liberals and the historical pact, right? That's what you are saying, that it might happen soon.
yeah, I think it might happen. I don't see, for example, Rodolfo Hernandez from the Anti-Corruption League, who is an admirer of Hitler, joining. Yeah, he has said so
My
in
God.
media, joining Pacto Histórico, historical pact, or the attacks from Ingrid Betancourt to Petro during the interviews. Well, you see the background of Ingrid Betancourt, who in the past was said to be financed by the arms company called, and there are many interests there to don't let not Petro, but the people get the presidency.
I got it. I got it. Now,
So how much support, how much, it's because you mentioned Betancourt, how much support does she have? I mean, she never had much support, right? Not even after, like, she had been kidnapped by the FARC.
No, her possibilities are near to zero to get to the presidency. But the
yesterday I
attacks
was
are
looking.
causing.
Sorry,
What?
sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But the attacks on Petro are willing to make a hole in the support, the popular support that he has.
And listen, is there a chance of something similar happening between Pacto Histórico and the Greens with Ingrid Betancourt? Like that she concedes towards Petro as candidate? Is that a possibility or not?
I don't see it right now. I don't
Okay.
see Ingrid Betancourt supporting. Her attacks on Petro are increasing. I think she's far, far away from supporting Petro. And
That's right.
also Sergio Fajardo. I think that it has to be double work for the activists of Pacto Histórico in these 2 months towards to get the necessary votes, because
Alliances.
there has been a lot of abstention, people that doesn't vote. So from
Yes.
there can get some more support.
Listen, let's now jump towards this. We have been already there. I mean, talking about the March 13 election. I mean, the presidential possibility.
Presidential election.
Yes, but I wanna hear from you your opinion about how will be. I mean, how do you forecast the presidential elections that are gonna be held next May?
How do I forecast who are going to be the Federico Fico Gutierrez is the candidate from Álvaro Uribe and from the traditional party. They have many others, but he's the strongest one, so they are going to decide to support him. Unite. Yes. However, Fico has only had less than half votes in the primaries than Petro did. It was like about 2 million votes in the primaries of his party. So it's not going to be easy for him. He's going to join whoever he has to join. He has the support of sectors linked to drug dealers. He is Secretary of Security. Well, he was the governor of Antioquia, Medellin. I don't remember well, but was linked to the Oficina of Envigado, which is a paramilitary group, and a very strong paramilitary group. So he has a very dark background, but that background is the same background that Ivan Duque had during the last elections.
Election.
So of course there are going to be, and there have been already, buying of votes, and not only for presidency, also for the Congress. There were places like Cesar where the only candidate for the Senate was the son of the condemned paramilitary Jorge Cuarenta, who ran alone because of the other candidates resigned because the threats. So
Crazy.
yeah, it's crazy, but it's happening, and it's obviously going to happen during the presidential election in many regions in Colombia.
How can you, I mean, how the left can organize to try to minimize that? It's almost impossible, right? Is there something that the left can do?
Well, they're reaching the impossible right now. I mean,
That's true.
since the Patriotic Union genocide,
Mm,
this is the occasion, the time that the left have been more close to have the presidency. So
yes.
how they're doing? They are doing with high risk. They are doing with minimal support, economic support. They are doing it with social media. They are doing it in the streets, but they're working in a asymmetric balance
Yes.
of power. However, now they are the highest force, or the biggest force in the Congress. So there are real possibilities that the left or the historical pact get to a presidency, and that's why they are afraid, the traditional parties, and that's why these 2 months are going to be a high risk for all the activists, for human rights defenders, for social leaders, and also for
For
Gustavo Petro,
Petro. Yes. Yes,
because
you shared with me a few days ago an article, a news article about the security of Petro, and that I was not aware of, and he have a lot of security, and I was thinking that maybe they left him alone and that he didn't have. Can you tell us a little bit about that? About
yeah,
that
here in Colombia,
security?
here in this, how they say, the oldest democracy from the continent, it's a tradition to kill candidates. You will see Galan, Gaitan, Pizarro, well, the candidates from the Patriotic Union, two
Mhm.
candidates there, Bernardo Jaramillo, and so following to this behavior, following this behavior, Petro has to be very careful during these elections, because the forces that support the other parties are forces linked to paramilitaries, linked to drug dealers, etc.
Listen, and talking about that article that you shared with me, they were talking about something like 70 security people around him, or 50. I don't remember exactly. Do you remember the number?
Not that I don't remember. I
But
think it was
something like
7.
that, right? Even they talk about like that he had even snipers, and but who assigned those security people to him is my question. I mean, does he have a say in choosing them? Because if they are assigned by the by the
Government.
government, that's gonna be like bad thing, isn't it?
Yes, you can remember what was the delinquent
Criminal. Yes.
criminal behavior of the DAS,
Yes, of
the
course. The
Administrative Department
intelligence.
of Security,
Yes.
that they were making intelligence and also acting with these
Paramilitary.
murderers or paramilitary murderers of
Mhm.
leaders. So in the recent years, there was a research, journalist research, that the National Protection Unit, UNP, had a group of murderers inside, military murderers acting inside. So I agree with you. They have in these cars GPS devices. They know exactly where they are moving. This is also a surveillance device
Mhm.
to,
Mhm.
to the protected. Um, there are journalists that have resigned to this protection, rechazado,
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Rejected, yeah.
because of that. So yes, this can be a risk too. However, at this point, is it could be the start of a war to kill Gustavo Petro.
Do you think
And
so? Okay.
yes, of course.
People talk about those things in Colombia.
People is not meeting to say let's start a war if Petro is getting killed, but everybody knows that during the national strike, it was the promise that okay, let's get a little bit cold because in the elections we will solve it.
That makes sense.
In the elections, I mean, the M19
Mhm.
was the movement where Petro
Came
was,
from.
where he came from,
Mhm.
when he was young. And this movement was the result of the steal of the elections against Gustavo Rojas Pinilla by the father of the former president Andrés Pastrana, who was also a president at that time, Misael Pastrana.
Mhm.
So that started a guerrilla and a war that lasted at least half
20.
century.
Yes.
So if there
Okay.
is an action like that, it would probably would be the start. Well, that's another question. I mean, war in Colombia had never stopped,
That's
but
true.
we couldn't say that the start of a new war because the war is still
He's already there.
or it has been different because FARC was a different type of guerrilla with this political view and structure. However, the remains of that war are
Mhm.
different right now. What I'm saying is that probably the killing of Gustavo Petro, which is something that I'm completely sure that the right wing is planning because there are many denuncias
Mhm.
about
Denounce.
it. Could be the start of a new war, a new political war.
That's something. That's something. I didn't know about that. You wanna
So
say
like
something?
you talked about, yeah, you talked about the remnants of FARC, but there are other armed groups in Colombia, right? There is ELN also, the Ejército de Liberación Nacional. So
Yes.
what is its stand for this election?
What's the stance of the ELN?
Like what
ALN.
is their position? Yeah, what is the position of ALN?
I don't know. ELN has Well, if I compare the force that ELN has right now to a power that had FARC before the peace agreement, is the power, the force of the ELN is less. So the influence that they might have by force, I don't see it like a great, and you could see it during the last strike, force strike, how you say, the paro armado, armed strike.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, it was like too small. I don't think the right wing says that Petro is the candidate from ELN because they
This
always need to have this enemy to support their reaction, their violent reaction.
listen,
Um,
David. Now you're talking about that. I mean, I'm not an expert in guerrilla movements or things like that, but from Venezuela, we see that, as you say, what left from the FARC is mostly has been got rodent, maybe. You know, I'm not saying that all of it, but there's a lot of right now uh, narco trafficking within the FARC. Is the same thing happening with the ELN, or maybe I'm just watching or seeing the whole thing run?
well, as the same as you, I'm not an expert on guerrilla movements. There's a lot of drug
In Colombia
in the
in general,
country, in Colombia right now, and of course, that uh, drug is
permeates.
you is yeah. Um, However, I'm not an expert to say this is a group of drug dealers because I think that the main business is in the hands of the state. So what I might think is that those they call GAOR, Grupos Armados Organizados Residuales,
Mhm.
it's in the agreement, are working with the Colombian state too, like in a, I don't know,
A lot.
clandestinity,
Yeah.
Okay.
in a clandestine alliance to move the drugs. Social leaders in some regions have told me that they call themselves guerrillas, but they don't act like guerrillas, that they are acting more like paramilitaries right now.
Mm.
It's also, and that is, of course, the result of the incumplimiento of the government.
How do you say
Even,
that in English? The breaking of the peace agreement, maybe, right?
They
yeah,
never even implemented the peace agreement.
Mm.
yes, yes, exactly. Because the government um, didn't do the things that they have to do for taking out the coca from territories and giving people these options to live, some options to make other business.
Listen,
That's
David.
in the that's about that is the documentary Under Siege, Bajo Fuego. It's
Mhm.
a research of what had happened to the implementation of the
Peace agreement.
peace agreement, uh,
Yeah.
particularly on the drugs uh, chapter.
Listen, so going back to the question about the scenarios, the presidential scenarios, you think that maybe there's a chance for Petro to win in a first round? That's what you say, right?
Yes, yes, he had twice the votes than the strongest candidate from the right wing. So
because yesterday I was reading a Semana poll that says that Petro had like 32%, and that the other guy from the guy from Álvaro Uribe got like 23%, and that the Ingrid Betancourt had like 3%. Coming from Semana, you never know what is true and what is not. But do you think that those are the numbers?
I think with desire.
So that's the desire reflected in numbers.
Well, many of these surveys companies here in Colombia have burned after the results of the elections in other times. So I think, well, the traditional parties are strong, are still strong in many regions. That's true. They remain strong, but the historical pact has opened a hole in the hegemony, and that's a fact. They wouldn't be so scared if it wasn't like that.
Okay.
Actually, tell me
The
something.
propaganda is active 24/7 to attack Gustavo Petro and to minimize the results, and black propaganda spreading all around. That's what we're going to see. They're not playing fair. We are not expecting they play fair. They never did. The historical pact, it's only asking to
let them play fair.
Let them play fair.
Yes.
So how many voters are there in the electoral roll? Like,
what
you said that like they're talking about 32% or 23% of support. So how many voters are there in Colombia?
Voters. Do you know the numbers of the electoral roll? El número de total de votantes?
No, I don't have this census because of the registry didn't release it in the before the elections.
No kidding.
What I can tell you about this is that the registrator, el registrador nacional, said this statement before the elections. The one who does not feel guarantees should not be candidate. And that's it.
I mean, how did you, I didn't get it. How did he say it in Spanish?
El que crea que no tiene garantías o el que siente que no tiene garantías no se debería presentar.
Okay, yes, you say it right.
Ahora, now this Electoral Observation Mission, MOE, and many other organizations have warned and asked for explanation about this atypical behavior that is how they call the loss of 500,000 of votes. But the registrador came out and saying that he would not resign, and saying that the evidence shown it was superfluous.
Superficial, yes, superfluous.
Yeah. So
that's something.
If you have this electoral census, this number of voters, anyways, with a registrator like that, it's not a guarantee for no one, for no for any opposition party
Who that
to.
guy represents? I mean, is that guy from Álvaro Uribe or from Santos? From
Yes, he's from the same party. He belongs to the party, the government party, which is Centro Democrático, has all the control from all the institutions in Colombia,
Mm.
from Procuraduría, Fiscalía, how you say this?
Mhm.
And Attorney General,
Attorney General.
General, Public Prosecutor, this National Register of Elections, everyone.
The
Everyone,
ombudsman
yeah.
also.
The what?
The ombudsman.
Defensoría del Pueblo.
El
Defensoría.
defensor del pueblo también está cooptado por el gobierno, no.
Here they call it Defensor del Puesto.
That means in English, the protector of his own post. Maybe, right?
Yes.
The defender of his own post. Crazy. I didn't know that. I didn't know. I saw that Defensoría del Pueblo in Colombia was a little bit less because of things that I have read, maybe during Paro Nacional or something like that. Anyway, we need
Actually,
to jump to the last one. We need to
Yeah,
jump to the last question.
I would just a minute about
Yeah,
that.
please do.
What you're telling me about you have read these papers from the Defensoría. I interviewed a leader in Nariño, Llorente, which is a violence hotspot. There was an indigenous leader from the Agua community, which is an extension, which is in the way to extension. And he told me that in his in that region there were a lot of mass graves. You can notice or know that the unity of search, unidad de búsqueda de personas desaparecidas, of missing people, have said that in Colombia there are more than 120,000 missing people, disappeared people.
Yes,
Told
that's
me
true.
in an interview for a documentary that I'm about to release called Until When, that in Llorente there were many mass graves, and that they had become a number for these institutions that every year came to take note of the number of indigenous that have been killed, and that's it.
That's terrible.
Yeah, and that I went to a meeting with this institution, and the promise was, I know the defensor for that region told, I know that many people don't trust us, but we are here to make the informs.
So they just do reports.
They just do reports, and
That's right.
the results of those reports are used by the government to clean the tables. They don't take seriously reports, per se, alertas tempranas that they make. The genocidal is continuous. It doesn't stop, and it won't stop because of paper.
Yes. That's sad. That's sad. Let's jump to the next question, the last one. We need to wrap it up because we are already running out of time. In the scenario of Petro winning the elections, how do you see his possible behavior in relation to Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua? Or do you see that he's going to behave like Boric in Chile? How do you see it?
Well, it's very interesting, your question. I think that we have to watch this in a broad Latin American
View,
right?
Yeah.
Because it's very probable that in Brazil, Lula wins the elections, right?
Mhm.
So Petro have said that with Lula and Boric, they would do an alliance, a Latin American alliance, and that the relations between Venezuela and Colombia would normalize.
I hope so. We need so.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, I believe
necessary.
that Colombian and Venezuelans need that strongly because, I mean, we have been having trade relations for decades, for centuries, and those things have stopped just because of the craziness of Iván Duque following the gringos. And also the diplomatic consular relations. We have millions of Colombians here, and now you have millions of Venezuelan or hundreds of thousands of Venezuelan up there in Colombia, and they also need protection, consular protection, diplomatic protection, and those things are not happening because we don't have diplomatic and consular relations. That's crazy.
Of course, what you're saying is very important, and I think it's very important to know that any mm, speech of Petro, in any speech of Petro, he had never followed the main lines of attacking Venezuela as Duque has
Done.
done. I
Mm.
mean, with this, I mean that in an eventual presidency of Gustavo Petro, we wouldn't see a Gedeon operation or something like that.
That's good to
I
know.
know, yeah, I know that there are many differences between the government of or the political vision of Gustavo Petro and Nicolas Maduro, and also economical differences between them. But the point is that the necessary integration of South America is main line to follow in this eventual government.
So you think that will be like some sort of alliance with Boris and Lula if he wins in Brazil, and that's my expectation at least, and I believe that might also lead to a because I believe that Lula is closer to Venezuela, to Chavismo, than Boric and Petro, so that might help also in looking for spaces for integration between those different left that might be in the region in the near months. So that will be
Yes,
great if that happens.
yes, that's very important if we see it in a bigger frame of the world, because now that the war in Ukraine has led to the increase of the gas and
Oil
the oil,
prices, yes.
and the United States need more flow of this, and also Europe. One of the concerns is the war. A war, uh, a total war to get the oil has always been a concern from Venezuela, right?
Yes.
So what is also in the table is not only the winning of Pacto Histórico, the historical pact, and the democracy in Colombia. It's also the possibility of the
Reunion.
stop a war, because from my vision, the war against Venezuela has been a constant during the aggression against Venezuela has been a constant, and
Yes.
that could increase in order to make a coup, right?
Yes. To make
That's
the
the
gringos
purpose.
happy.
Yeah, to make the gringos happy as Álvaro Uribe, as their dog
Yeah.
has done.
Yes. Yes.
But in the Gustavo Petro presidency, we wouldn't see something like that.
So what you're saying is that maybe, I mean, the Petro disregarding him not being, for many Chavistas like me, socialist enough, even in that reality, having him winning in Colombia will be a positive outcome because we won't have in Venezuela the threat of having a worse right winger than Ivan Duque that might open a war with Venezuela, right? It's basically that, right?
Yes, because in the scenario of Federico Gutierrez as president, I can see as a possibility a war against Venezuela. I think Federico Gutierrez is more dangerous than Ivan Duque.
Wow, and that's something because Ivan Duque is already a piece of museum.
No,
I won't say the other piece of thing.
Ivan Duque is a piece of cake. I can say.
Wow, so that guy is worse than Ivan Duque. That's something. I didn't know that. I haven't followed too
Yes.
much yet. What is his name again?
Federico Gutierrez.
Federico Gutierrez. Okay, I need to memorize that name. Just
I'll
in
write to you.
case.
I need to forget his name soon.
Yes, we don't even wish to remember his name because like he is more like seems like he is more like Uribe.
Listen, guys, I believe that we already reached our limit time. It has been a pleasure for me to chat with you, David. I hope that maybe soon we might have another discussions, especially about those things on security that we talked at the beginning, and journalism and that kind of things that happen in Colombia that people do not see clear outside Colombia. But anyway, for me, it was a pleasure. I don't know if it was a pleasure for you, Sahili.
Yes, of course, it was excellent, excellent to listen from you, and especially the things that are not generally said, like the repression against. You can understand that there is a lot of repression, but the level of repression that you have represented within this short time, like within a few minutes, that that must be a fraction, but even that is a lot. Like how does Colombia then get that indices for democracy is something, but we know how this happened.
Yeah, it
Thank
was a
you, David.
pleasure for talking to you too. Thank you for the invitation.
Un abrazo, and let's see if Petro can win there.
Yeah, hoping for that.
Be safe, please.